Hey out there, this is October. Let's see, today's going to be the 26th. Yes, it is Friday, October the 26th, 2018. And it is just about 14 minutes before 9 in the morning here in Northern California. Today, as usual, I'll get into a lot of different stuff. What's on everybody's mind, of course, is the migrant crisis. And we got these phony bombs being sent out, and it's such an obvious decoy, frame up, false flag, call it what you will, but it's a lot of bull, gaslighting. It, you can imagine, if you feel guilty, how nice it'd be to have somebody threaten you in such a way that, hey, you know what? Anybody now that's your enemy is to be suspect. Anyone that doesn't like you is to be suspect that, hey, you sent these phony bombs to these people to intimidate them, scare them. And it's sympathy. It's like a self-inflicted wound is what is being gleaned here. And I'm not saying that I know all the details, but it stinks to high heaven of impropriety. And, you can't believe what you see on the face of this thing. You can't believe the prima facie evidence was too glaringly obvious. I mean, it's child's play. This is one thing the mainstream media never talks about is the this idea that false flags go back in history thousands of years. So it's not a new concept. It's you can understand how simple it is to understand a frame up and how you frame somebody. Um, I just saw an episode of Crime Files, True Crime Files, or something this morning, and this preacher, how long he was at this church, I don't know, a long time, beloved preacher, and the guy, it was about money. He wanted to be bishop, which would have doubled his salary from about 40,000 a year to over 80,000 a year, and he killed one of his, I guess probably his closest friend in the church, cut off his head, and this was about escaping reality for him, financial reality. He had been embezzling from the church and a lot of financial improprieties in the church, apparently. And he got an ID off of a gravestone of a child that had died, and got a birth certificate, so was able to get ID and in another name, and just to imagine the horrors that money has brought, that has wrought upon our race, and for people to not get it really hurts me. It scares me, almost like, what am I doing here on planet Earth? I feel so different. I feel like people think that my thinking is radical, but to me, it's really straightforward. That it's just madness up one side and down the other. What this thing we call money, what it's done to us, it's like demon possession, and we all are exposed to it. Nobody is exempt. Nobody gets to opt out of this thing. It's crammed down our throats from birth. This idea that, of course, you have to pay a cost of existing, living, a cost of living tax, and no questions asked. That's just accept it. That's just the way it is, right? But how few people out there, like myself, will question that and say, wait a minute. We claim to believe in God. We say that all things belong to God, which of course would include the earth and all human beings, all the flora, fauna, and all the resources upon the earth. And to people, it sounds radical to suggest that we ought to be born with our share of wealth on this planet from birth, and how this would circumvent the power of Satan, money, to me, it's one and the same, two peas in the pod, because Satan would starve to death without the power of the purse. Okay, this is what it's all about. The power is in the money. Jesus spelled this out very clearly, very succinctly, and unequivocally. He stated that this is the root. The love of money is the root of all evil. Not some of the evil, all of it. It's a big deal to understand that. It's a big deal, and it sounds radical to a lot of people, but to me, I've been accepting this idea for a long time, and it's as clear as the light of day. Should be our paradigm. This should be our reality. So, let the chips fall where they will, but the fact is that the only right way to live that's going to please God is going to be assuming God's will upon the earth, actualizing it, is that we are born free, that we don't have a cost of living, cost of existing tax from birth imposed on us. And by who? I mean, why is it always one party paying this thing and the other is the recipient? Do you understand just how maddening this is to somebody whose eyes are open, and you just see it getting worse and worse, and people talk about progress and all these things they don't understand. They think there's going to be a political solution, a certain law, a certain regulation, remove a certain law, a certain regulation, elect a certain politician, and they have faith in the system. They think somehow it's going to work. And look at the evidence. Just look at the empirical evidence. Just observe it in recent history of America. And America, just because I was born an American, I mean, I could be born anywhere in the world, but I'd still recognize the fact that America is the trendsetter for the rest of the world. So we're screwing it up everywhere. All these angry Hondurans coming up, they know dollars to dog turds. Okay, this thing has to do with somehow somebody tied to the United States meddling in the financial affairs of that country. Okay, it's always money, the root of all the evil. And who's leading the way? America is basically to blame for almost all the problems around the world. Okay, what do you think turns people into rabid communists and devout socialists? What do you think it is? It's things like crony capitalism. And who is imposing the crony capitalism? Okay, it's a lot of these same people that just got these bomb threats. Okay, these are a lot of people that I really don't have a lot of regard for. Okay, but nobody on the face of this earth needs to be threatened by me. That's a choice I make. I don't want to be that person that intimidates and that is seen as a threat. Okay, it's my prerogative, as it is everybody's, to choose not to be any man's enemy, and that's the man I choose to be. It's a beautiful thing, and we've all got to be that person that we have to be deep down inside, and I choose to not be a threat. I try to live by the truths I know, that, like science, that this idea of loving our enemy is something we have to get. You got to get it. You got to understand that we're not like God topically. Okay, you have to be deliberate and reach deep down inside yourself to be like God, and you realize that God is a lot different than us, and that's a big step. That can be traumatic for people when they realize all this self-righteousness is just a bunch of BS. It's vanity, and this idea of buying into the division. This is just what they want. They want division, these type of people. So they're using crony capitalism, which now has morphed into, it's really gotten fascist. It used to be, you see the police departments, they'd fix up their cars and had to maintain them, take them to the mechanic. Now they're constantly driving brand new vehicles all over. So you understand there's certain agencies, governmental and private, that have really benefited from what's going on economically speaking. The fascist side comes from the fact that the governments are involved in jacking up your cost of living tax. Well, cui bono, who benefits? Well, obviously, they benefit when they get more taxes. So it's not a hidden truth. The things I talk about are really prima facie. Anybody, by observing and being honest, intellectual honesty is very important. Very important. I watch TMZ Live sometimes, and I hear Harvey Levin. He's a really smart guy, but sometimes I think he's a bit deviant in his mind, that he's a bit intellectually dishonest. He brought up the Weather Underground, how they were doing this, but he didn't say that this was a leftist organization. So I don't know what I don't know where he's coming from sometimes. And when I don't trust somebody, their intellectual honesty, it's really, I struggle. I want to get angry with them, and I want to lash out, but that's my gut reaction. I need to, with my gut, observe my gut and try to tap into God's opinion. What is God's opinion about this? Instead of me getting all pissy and copping a bad attitude, bad spirit, and then retorting in a manner that's unbecoming, whereby I defile myself, like Jesus said, it's not what goes in our mouths that defiles us, what comes out. And not heeding the words of James in chapter 3 about taming the tongue and how it's a restless evil. So this is what's going on. You see, they're fomenting, they're inducing us to be divided by being reactionary to one another, believing that we are each other's enemies, that they're living all around us. Gee, did you know the neighbor down the street's a leftist? And did you know this guy is a communist? Did you know this guy he's a big fat capitalist pig? Just a greedy SOB, on and on. I mean, it just not really ever taking the time to understand all these problems socially in your local communities is emanating from the top. Okay, if I die tomorrow, this is my advice to everybody. Listen to guys like G. Edward Griffin. Okay, he spells it out. He has focused. He's going for the jugular. He's very brave. A lot of people don't see it. And guys like Ron Paul, a lot of people don't see it. He's not a dynamic speaker, perhaps. But these people, guys like G. Edward Griffin, know the source of the problem. They know it's just unsound currency, and it's not by accident. It's by deliberation. It's a way to thieve, by stealth. Okay, it's sneaky. Look up the term Overton Window. Okay, they keep moving it, and too many people that I like and respect and admire for fighting the good fight. What is the good fight? It's just for righteousness to be the rule of the day on earth, justice, fairness, all those things we all want. Right? I mean, it's not hard to figure out what we all want, but I see some people and I feel like they're accepting the movement of the Overton Window. Okay, guys like Alex Jones, I mean, I admire so much, and he's so brave and so bold and outspoken, and he inspired me to start speaking out. Okay, but sometimes I wonder if he's accepting the movement of this Overton Window. And what I mean is just, we've got to discuss revisiting 2008. I mean, it was only 10 years ago. Okay, if that's not recent history, I don't know what is. We need to talk about what Slick Willy did when he got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act and the effect that had on the banking industry, how that green-lighted them to be reckless, to lend recklessly. And this is where all of our problems are coming from. Okay, and believe me, these people don't care about, a lot of them probably don't even vote. Okay, these people are the untouchables. These are the ones that are too big to fail. Okay, that we're told, hey, society itself would break down. I mean, the fabric of America would fall apart if we gave what it was 90% of the American people their way. Okay, because 90% of the American people were opposed to the bailout. Because we knew, even if people didn't understand intellectually, they knew intuitively this was not the right thing to do. We knew there was reckless lending. Okay, these people have degrees. All these people at the upper echelons of the money printing industry, issuance of currency. Okay, that's the top banksters. Okay, listen, they know what's going to cause problems and what's going to stabilize the economy and what's going to cause progress, what's going to result in true progress, whereby we're talking about a rising tide of prosperity that lifts all boats, all ships. Okay. And they've known for decades. I mean, in my mind, we had a coup in 1963 by these people. I mean, there's not a hint of impropriety on the part of the Federal Reserve. Okay, because cui bono, who benefits? Okay. I'm struggling with the pronunciation of cui bono. It's spelled C-U-I, and I don't exactly know how you pronounce that, but I think it's a Latin term. Alex Jones says key bono, but I don't know. Maybe that's the right pronunciation. It doesn't matter. But you understand that this business about a critical mass, if you can understand that it really does not take a large number to affect change, this movement of the Overton window, whereby we keep accepting more and more tyranny. And I think I'm onto something with pointing to the era of the television. Okay, the radio was one thing. It was a big change for humanity. This form of entertainment that we had. We could enjoy music and we could enjoy talk shows and interviews and a lot of stuff that we couldn't enjoy